Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for September 10th, 2021. I'm Benji Fisher moderating, and also on the meeting are Divya Mangadoo, Aaron McHale, Antonia, Christina Chumias, Jillian Chueca, Ted Bowman, and Thomas Howell. I hope I got the names reasonably good. Divya is sharing her screen. She's going to talk about designs for the automatic upgrade initiative. And if you want to follow that, the issue number for Drupal.org is 322-7564. So Divya, take it over.
All right, actually, I'm going to open the ticket first just to give a preview of that. And then I'll show the Figma files. So
we lost your screen share.
yeah, I'm also gonna share the ticket real quick. I have that open separately. All right,
Yeah.
so this is the mentioned Drupal ticket under automatic upgrades UX designs. And basically the goals of this were to create a place that makes auto updates both discoverable, making updates more noticeable by the user from the start, and then making it easy to update modules and helping users download them on a regular schedule and helping them essentially create a set it and forget it type mindset. So this is the ticket here. What we do have here is the goals, the research that we did with some screenshots, and then some walkthroughs with pictures of our prototype or our designs that we've created. We've also included a link to a Figma file, which is what I'm going to be sharing, which is right here. So let me just open this link. All right. So how we started this process first was each of us walked through trying to update a Drupal module. This was just to understand the experience. All of us had varying experience or with using Drupal. So I was a completely new user. Jillian had a familiar experience with Drupal, was still relatively new. And then our other teammate, Hillary, was pretty novice with Drupal. And essentially all three of us failed for different reasons. One is that, for example, in my flow here, maybe it's a little bigger. I tried to find the updates page itself, and on this file, we can go through more in depth of my journey through trying to find the updates page, but essentially every single screen was me trying to navigate through the top level Drupal screens and trying to find the updates page. And after going through 8 or so screens, I still never found where to update it. So that's what led us to the goal of trying to make updates more discoverable. Jillian had a very similar experience too, of trying to locate the updates and then having to go outside of the update itself to the Drupal documentation, learning how to download the Drupal file itself, and in the end wasn't able to install an update. We also asked Angie, who is an expert Drupal user, and she was also unable to update a Drupal module. So after knowing this and pointing out the different questions and our thoughts right here with these sticky notes, we went to look at other products to see what they were doing for automatic updates. So one was like looking at Creative Cloud, asking where their updates lived in the platform, how they were notifying people that there were updates available. So having a separate updates page here, how they were separating up and bubbling up different types of updates, how they were tracking different types of updates. Similarly, looking at Apple, how they were checked in Figma, also how they were checking for updates, and really using that to inform some of our designs, which we're going to jump into now. So in this file, you'll see another page here, the MVP design, which is what we're proposing for our initial phase. So the first part of this is the notifications. we're proposing to bring a whole separate updates page to this top black tab right here. The reasoning behind that was initially we had it here in the navigation, but when this collapses, this would bring the updates down to the side. And we wanted this to be at the top of mind. So as soon as you log into the platform, you will see that there is updates at all times. So the updates page would be here, and this will be non-dismissible. Only when you finish doing these major security updates will this notification go away. Secondly, for the security updates too, we included this banner just to get the attention of people, and this will direct the, clicking the C update would direct them directly to the updates page or in the specific update. So this is the updates page that we're proposing as well. And we have it divided up into two parts. One is, or first, this page has 3 tabs: the new updates, recently update, and settings. And I'll walk through the different pages. So on the new updates page, we have it divided into 2 parts: the Drupal core auto updates, which from talking to Ted and then different Drupal members, that would be the first thing that would be able to be auto updated. So this will be surfaced to the top. And then the manual updates, and these are pretty much anything that would have to be done with Composer or outside of the UI from my understanding. So in the Drupal auto updates, they would have the ability to see when it's scheduled or when it will run, and also have the ability to override that with the update now button to check it. In the manual updates, it would be more of a list view here. And initially we had this update selected button, which would be revised, here after reading some of the comments and discussing later. Initially, it would most likely look like this and be more of a list form, with just having instructions on how to do the update. One of the ideas was to have the Composer line here and include the most important information. So what modules that update is affecting, and really, and then hiding the beta versions and then the information here and linking out, rather than having every single version in this, just having the recommended version here. Another feature that we're proposing too is having these little pill tags here. So one of the issues that we saw was that wall of terror that kept getting mentioned. So just to improve scannability, we included a tag for things that weren't compatible, and that requires things like Symfony. So with this yellow tag, and then highlighting just the critical updates or the security updates with red and having a tag there. The other thing we're proposing to help with seeing many updates is this filtering. So one searching by keywords or the module type or the update name, or being able to sort by ascending or descending, and then having a refresh button number to see if any new updates are available. And then for the settings page, on this page, we're proposing these different sections. So one is to allow users to set when they want to check for updates. So choosing the time, the days of the week. This is a drop-down multi-select checklist. So this would be just days of the week they would check off, and it would populate with the comma separator. And then choosing how often they want to check, and then being able to set multiple times for that. This is to be able to turn on and off the auto update feature, and then the email notifications of letting you know when updates happen, if there are any errors, if there are new update, new security updates, or that sort of thing. What could be emailed about is subject to change, but just the setting here. And then lastly is the recently updates page, which is more of a log, just in case if the update happens and it breaks something, you know exactly where it is. So this would just track the name of the project or that was updated, what type it was, the current version, and then the date updated. And then hopefully linking out to the project browser eventually as well. And yeah, that is mostly it. The big thing with the description too was trying to shorten it just to put the most important information. Again, hiding the beta versions in this link. This will go to the documentation if anybody wants to see that, and this would help guide new users just to download the recommended version. Similarly, they could also go to the documentation by clicking this what's new button, which will go to the release notes. Yeah, that's the proposed designs that we have. Jillian, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you did an excellent job presenting this, Divya. Thank you so much for sharing this with everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's pause here and see if people have comments or questions. And if anyone is more comfortable typing rather than speaking out loud, I'll keep an eye on the chat and read out any comments you put in there. Aaron says, amazing, love it.
Yeah, thank you. Really looks really great. So who was first? Anybody has any thoughts?
Go ahead, Christina.
Okay. Well, hi, first, I'm Christina. I've been designing. First, thank you for using Claro. I've been working on Claro for a while. Well, actually, I was one of the designers for the project, so that's great and really cool that you're using it. So as a background, I've been designing this design system, and also I helped on another initiative that was got a momentum like I think 2 years ago, and I'm not sure what the state right now, but it was called messages or alerts or something like that. Let me throw a link in here for you all, so you know. It was as a background. It was an idea. It was an idea posted on the ideas issue queue. The ideas issue queue is a place where people has an idea, and before investing too much time on that, they share the idea with the rest of the community, and then they get feedback. So it was posted there. I think it came from the DA or people close to the DA, and I ended up helping a little bit on the designs, not designing myself, but giving feedback to Anna, one of the designer that actually worked on that. And a few things that were used there could actually be, I think, be helpful here. At least the placement of the menu item on the toolbar. Yeah, exactly that. So basically,
Christina?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just want to point out for the sake of the recording, they can't see the link you posted, so I'll just read the issue number into the recording. The project messaging channel in Core Initiative is issue 2940739. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I always forget about that. And also, actually, this issue is closed because they opened a project, a full project that is called, if you can search for that, is drupal.org/project/announce. So basically, it has in common that it creates like a link on the top with a bubble or a red circle with dates or notifications or something like that. So probably this is something that it could either work together or kind of be integrated, because I guess if you have like, if a user has like a notifications place or something like that, I think that's something that could work together. And what they did is they placed that on the right because it was, the purpose was closer to the user or the whoever is navigating or using the site, rather than navigation, which is the manage and the shortcuts links. So that's the only feedback I would have on here. Maybe just collaborating with them, or I'm not sure what's the state of the initiative. We could move that if you want. We could try to talk all together at some point and see if it makes sense to integrate one thing with the other. And apart from that, that I think it's the place to have that on the darks side of the toolbar, because as you're saying, otherwise it just can stay hidden. I really think it's you really thought it well. And apart from that, I really like most of the things that you've done. I could just give you feedback on the UI side because I designed a lot of the components. So really small things like I'm not sure if you have the link to the Figma designs for Claro, but I can share with you the links. Well, I can just do it right now and it's going to be easier. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we were trying to use that as much too, but there are also, it's kind of rough too. We were trying to get like the flows down as well, but we definitely need to update it to the Claro design as well.
Okay, so you already have the links to the design system. Perfect, because they're like lately we changed the button sizes and we created the chips that might be useful somewhere else, but they are really small things that are more like UI, small details that can just be updated at the last minute or something like that. Overall, the UX workflow, I think it makes sense on the purpose that you're proposing. So, and actually, I will give time to someone else to give feedback. And yeah, just share the link also to the designs for the alerts. Okay. I'm not sure if you should be able to, anybody. No, only people anyone with a link can view. Okay.
Wait, let me see if I can just, I just clicked the link. Let me see. Oh.
Yeah, you're there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's at least that's my feedback. And let's see if someone else wants to say something.
Christina, just an update on that announce module. I think they're planning to make a core issue to propose the announce module in the next couple of days.
Cool. That's really nice. So because I know there is an issue that is project channel in core. Oh yeah, this has been updated like 10th of September. Okay, so let me paste here the issue. The issue number is 3206643. I guess this is kind of the idea behind it. Not sure if the designs are there also. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think Tim had mentioned in another call initially too that we would have to see how the messaging would interact with something like this as well, or the messaging from that.
Okay, perfect then.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember talking about this particular issue. So thank you for bringing this up, Christina, because I know we had discussed a little bit at length about what was going to go in the community alerts tab. And I think one of the reasons why we chose to make a separate updates notification in this regard was because so many users are ignoring the updates and just aren't updating, that we wanted to really kind of put it out there that it was something separate that was really important and not something that could just be ignored by a user who really did need those critical security updates to their site.
Yeah, so the thing is that right now it doesn't exist. So I'm not sure if the user would actually ignore it. Are you actually talking about some research that you've done in general?
I think we saw, correct me if I'm wrong too, I thought we had seen some, not exactly banners like this, but banners more within the page that said update, but then again, there were multiple banners. And this would be more of guiding them directly to that specific update.
Okay, so you mean more like update, so the link at the top versus this banner, not the integration of the updates link with the announcements or announce, or I'm not sure what's the announce project. Yeah,
I'm going to jump in here and point out there are some technical issues. The announce project isn't there yet. It's currently contrib module. We can't count on it being there. So we can certainly borrow ideas and design, but there are a lot of implementation details that are outside the scope of the usability meeting. And I'd also like to give Aaron a chance to talk. He's got his hand raised. Aaron, care to unmute yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Benji. I'm no longer in a train, and hopefully there's not too much background noise. So just to say that, yeah, I really like that, and I think there's real value in having the sort of separate updates button with the separate notification, because I think from the point that was raised, there's a real risk if you sort of bring them all into one kind of alerts system in the same place that people start to ignore them, and we really want to emphasize that there is a sort of there is some important action like a security update, which is the same reason I like that there's a separate banner here. So because the thing is, it's so easy to ignore the current messages that pop up. If you see a consistent, if you see the messages that pop up right now in, say, the administrative UI or whatever, if you've got a site that needs security updates applied, that message is always there. And it visually, it doesn't look very distinctive from other messages, so you start to kind of ignore it. But I think this is nice because it really visually pulls it out of the existing message system. So you see that banner, you know that there's something important. You know there's an update. You know when you see that banner below the toolbar, you know that is something that you need to take action on. It's not just another general error message, go check the status report, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Something that you can just, put off. So I really like that there's that separation there. And so the same for both the sort of red bar there and also for the updates button, quickly get into the update screen, but also with the number of updates there to point out that there is some action required. So I like that they're separate there. And as I said in the chat, I really like the sort of the approach that's been taken with this.
Right, so those are some of the basic usability ideas of discoverability and knowing what to do. Thomas, you also raised your hand.
Thanks. Two things as a site builder, concerns I have. One is that I would want to ensure that this message only showed to the audience of the site that I wanted to see it. So administrators or site administrators, site builders, developers, etc. I'm really not fond of forcing general knowledge about the update state of a site into just that bar, because the bar is used for a broader audience than just administrators. And the second concern I have is as a site builder, there's a lot of times where you can't update some of your modules, and not differentiating between a required security update and a module that just needs an update is problematic.
Yeah, I think those are really great points, Thomas. I think to the first one, I think the idea was to let the notifications be able to be shown only to the admins or those who would be actively updating the site. And that would be a setting that the admin would be able to kind of surface to who they would like. And then in regards to the second point, we have some later designs. These are really just for the MVP right now of like what we would initially start with. I agree with you though, that being able to surface which modules do have available updates is definitely something down the line on our roadmap.
Cool, thank you.
Does anyone else want to jump in?
I guess I guess it's a comment on, I think we've talked about this before with Divya and Jillian, that the project browser is going to face a similar problem for the manual updates. I think they're going to have instructions or they have a prototype also, not really done by a designer, but I guess they know they have the problem of they might not be able to install modules right away on the browser. It may just be a way to browse and get instructions. So I think I've been meaning to go to one of their meetings because we probably want the instructions for like the composer instructions to have the same wording for the manual updates here as they would on the project browser, so that if you or similar, because it'd be slightly different because one's an install and one's an update, but similar so that somebody coming to the project browser and wanting to install via Composer, and somebody coming here and seeing a module that needs to be updated manually via Composer, or via the zip, I guess, since we still offer it, but would see the similar instructions regarding Composer. So, but yeah, I've seen these before and have conveyed my enthusiasm. So that still carries over.
And Aaron says in chat that phase 1 of the project browser is just browsing, not installing. So agrees with you.
I think the good news is that we are also working on the project browser, Divya, myself, and our teammate Hillary, so we can absolutely take note of these things and make sure that they make their way into the designs.
Cool, great.
I have a couple of questions. One is that Drupal already has an updates report listing modules with available updates. So are we adding a new page that partially duplicates that, or are we adding to and redesigning that page?
Good point.
Is this the updates page that's the hidden? That's the one that's in the reports, correct?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, but I believe the idea was to just make this a new page and then get rid of the one in reports. The thinking behind that was when we were going through our user flows, reports was something that we through our research to reports was something that we saw as more you would expect to read something, not to actually do something with that. So
that would be my hope, that that this would replace it. Well, we definitely would have to look at that page and make sure that all the information conveyed is conveyed here, but I don't see anything on that page, or when I'm thinking about that page, there's no information that's conveyed there that wouldn't be conveyed here. And if there was important stuff on that page that we hadn't thought about, then we'd probably want to think about how to get it under this design so that we could replace it.
Yeah, and then if there is people who are normally going to that updates page, in the short term, it could be a redirect link too, just to get them to start using this page as well.
Yeah.
And I think basically it could be probably integrated. I'm not sure if someone has a screenshot or something like that here, but probably what you have here, well, what that page has is like a summary at the top, and that's all the information that could be missing here. But apart from that, I think the bottom part of that page is just informative. And probably the list that you have here is both informative and actionable. So it could be kind of either integrated or just placed under the same section, or I don't know, probably some information architecture here could be actually worked out somehow, like integrated under the same kind of path or inside configuration somehow. I don't know, but it's a really good point that it's basically the same. It's just that on one side it's just information and the other side is actually actionable. So
Yeah, I think
probably, well, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think like the real problem with having them both available would be, you know, two admins talking to each other on the phone, being like, "Oh, did you see the updates page? Look down, you know, the third row or whatever." And if they're not looking at the same page, but they think they are, then that could be really confusing. So I think for sites that have this, you know, enabled, then because it's going to be a different module at first, we should probably remove or have this one supersede the other one.
Again, one of the concerns of usability is discoverability. And for that, I want to take into account longtime users who are familiar with the existing page and how to find it. And we could put in a redirect, as you say, but it just seems to me more natural to keep the existing page, but add to it and redesign it. Until and unless you have some other idea of where it fits into the menu structure and the URL structure of the site. I think, you know, as a first step, just adding the auto updates as a section at the top of the existing updates report seems like a reasonable way to go.
So are you saying like to redesign the other page, like leave the page in the like the menu structure, but replace it with this look, or to leave the other look?
I'm suggesting we could redesign the existing page.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could have a combination of a redesign of that page in Drupal core and adding to that page in the auto updates module, which is currently in Contrib.
Yeah.
I believe, I can't test it at the moment since my test site doesn't have any outdated modules installed. But I think the available updates report also has a tab that lets you update through the user interface, assuming that you have FTP enabled or whatever on your site. And whether that still works in these days of Composer is very questionable. But I think you have to make sure that you take that page into account too, as you come up with a new way of updating through the user interface.
Benji, which page was this?
So there's
Yeah.
there's admin/reports/update, which lists things including core and contrib available for update. And then if you add /update to that URL, you get a list which, again, I can't check it right now on my test site, but I think it has checkboxes for contrib modules that it will then attempt to download and install on your server. And then there's also, and you can either add /update to the URL I gave, or you can, it's also a second tab on the page. And then there's a third tab, which is admin reports, updates, /settings. So there's sort of a lot of overlap between that and the designs you've presented. Certainly a settings tab. So make sure to take a look at the existing tabs and decide how you're going to include the existing functionality or change it.
Yeah, I think at very least on the page where you can manually update modules or automatically update modules now, well, the very least we'll have to do is warn people that it may not be compatible with auto updates. Because if you update a module not via Composer, when Drupal is updating Drupal core, it actually doesn't know that Composer doesn't know that module version has changed. So it wouldn't know if your module is incompatible with this next version of core or not. So I think we'll have to at least highly discourage, warn people strongly that that we don't know that this is going to not cause real problems. But yeah, we have this sort of double way of getting to all of the update pages right now, which is under available updates and under reports. And like we have a duplicate tab system.
Yeah, and also I take back my comment before because I was confusing the available updates and the status report pages. So actually maybe adding like a third page where you can actually see the state of the things. It's like a lot of places where you can actually see how things are. So because I was saying that the status report actually has this summary of things at the top, but available updates page, it doesn't. It just gives you extra information. So just to add to this is that what I was saying, that maybe 3 pages. So I'm not sure if maybe a link from there, or well, what you were already saying, it's important to not duplicate or triplicate the place where people can actually see all this information.
Yep.
And Divya, you're still sharing your screen. Could you go to the middle tab?
Yes, the recently updated.
Yeah. So the first question about that, is that only going to track updates done through the automatic update system, or will that somehow track things updated manually? I guess there's this column of update types, so that suggests that it tracks all updates, however they're done.
I guess this is a question we've been talking about, if it was possible to track the manual updates. Ted, would you know more about that?
I mean, I think technically we could write something to do that. It would have to be kind of something that is outside of, it could be something that ships with core, but it would have to be something that runs as a Composer plugin. And it's, for me, it's not something that we had in our roadmap for the initial MVP, because it's very difficult. Though they're keeping track of the ones that are installed via the automatic updates module is simpler. We haven't actually started on that feature yet, but obviously since we're doing it, we can track the time and date and which version it was. Outside of that, I think technically it would be possible, but I haven't looked into it, so I'm not sure. And it may be something just trying to think if there'd be any like privacy concerns or other concerns with people, like, because we usually don't track stuff people do outside of Drupal. So if we're like specifically saying, okay, we know you're doing something outside of Drupal and we think it'd be useful for you to know when you did it. I'm not sure that we do anything like that now. So I can't think of any like bad outcomes of that, but I'm sure it's something we should think about more as far as like what, yeah, of it, are there any security implications for doing something like that?
And then the other question about this, so let's say for the sake of argument that that at first we only list automatic updates, we don't need that update type column, but it will presumably list more than one if we've updated several times. I think you suggested that one use of this page is if something goes wrong, you can see when things happened. Is that actionable in any way? Is it possible somehow to tie this to external actions like a link to a backup somewhere, or is the automatic updates module going to provide some sort of way to hook into backing things up before updating?
No, we're not looking at that right now. I think the only thing that would be actionable is if you had reports from your users, you know, about something something changed on their site and people are complaining. If you looked back at the dates of that, like, oh, it started August 12th, and then you looked at this log and you're like, oh, we updated to we've updated 3 times since then, but on August 12th, there was an automatic update applied. I think it may be helpful for people to say, okay, let me Google, Drupal 9.2.3 update problem, because that was the one that, seems to, when our problem started, it may give people a starting point to think of like what might have caused the problem. And it's really, really hard to do rollbacks in Drupal. So I don't, that's like a whole another problem that I don't think we're gonna be able to solve anytime soon. But I think as far as people, often if something goes wrong in an update, there becomes documentation of, okay, if this happened to you during this update, this is how you, this is how you recover from it. This is the likely problems. So if they had 3 updates and they can correlate their problems on their site to a particular date that one was applied, it would probably help them narrow down which one likely caused the problem, so that if there are any sort of community or official mitigation steps to take, then that might just help them troubleshooting, I guess.
Okay, so here are a couple of concrete suggestions for this page. One, you have this column labeled current version, and I'm not sure why current version is relevant here. So my first suggestion is that the information I want to see is the version that was installed before the update represented by that row and what it upgraded to. So I would like to see in this table 2 columns showing old version and new version at the time of the update represented by the row. So that's one thing that I think is sort of concrete. The second thing is that we can make this more actionable, and I think it wouldn't be too hard, by including some links in the details column, the part that's collapsible. You could have a link to the release notes, and the release notes generally do have a section for known problems from the release. You could also have a link to the Drupal.org issues, which is basically Ted, exactly what you were saying. If you know there's a problem with this or that upgrade, you can look for issues. Let's just give a link to the issues filtered for particular versions.
You mean like basically linking to the Drupal core issue queue with the version pre-filled out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, I think a lot of users would be overwhelmed by that and wouldn't.
I think this is something that we also considered because initially when we started this project, we had looked at the modules page that I believe is under the extend tab there. And we had started working on redoing that page as well with more information that would link back to this page for the user if they wanted more information about those specific modules and updates. But we ended up seeing that as like an out of scope type part of this project, but it's definitely something that we can consider moving forward if there's more information that definitely needs to be surfaced. I think the one thing that we were thinking about is, especially new to Drupal users, what information really is necessary and important for them to know so that they're not overwhelmed by the amount of information on many of these pages.
I mean, I definitely think the idea though of that Benji had of going to the release notes is good, because I think in the rare case there is actually like instructions like you should be careful. I don't know. It's been long since I read them, but maybe like a warning that something could possibly go wrong if you have a particular case. And obviously, like on the update page, you're linking to that. So best case scenario, they read that first. But in the case that they didn't, it would be really good for them to be able to see that afterwards. And I also agree that the from and to version is probably pretty important. Right now, we may only support like one patch version up from like the previous to the next. So it may always be like from 9.1.2 to 9.1.3, but that will definitely not always be the case. So yeah, I would think the release notes and the from and to are probably,
Yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah, so the from and to is similar to something like
So I've been
like what we have here.
yeah.
I've been a little lax in paying attention to the chat. Aaron asked, similar to what was just said, will we have a log of what updates the auto updates module installed? I think the answer to that is yes. That's what the activity log tab is. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Aaron also asks, would the toolbar alert or banner be directly in the auto updates modules? Sites managed by Git might not want auto updates to be enabled, but I think there's some typos here that I'm struggling with. If that's in the alert bar, and the update link should be part of the base update module, because those are still very useful, even if a site doesn't have auto updates installed. There are usability benefits, even if a site doesn't have auto updates installed. Yeah, so I think in general, we have to think about how much of this is enhancements to what we already have, notifications, and how much of this is actually tied to the automatic updates.
Yeah, we've been talking about whether the new module, it might not even be called automatic updates. It may be just sort of like the new update manager or something, or a different name. The only reason right now it needs to be dependent on the existing update module is because that module reads all the update information in addition to providing the update functionality that it does. But there's definitely some stuff in the update module that at some point we should just not support like the updating outside of the, like, we should support updating in the UI modules eventually, but we should not do it in the way that the old update module does. We are not composer aware. Or I guess there's an argument to say we shouldn't support that. So it is tricky to, right now we have to have both of them enabled, but I think we're sort of wondering if that should not be the case. If eventually we should maybe extract the reading of the Drupal XML stuff out of the update module into something that they both would rely on, so you could actually turn off the existing update module if you want this module to be enabled. And in that case, you would potentially turn on this module if you just wanted information about updates, not only if you wanted to update. And we could potentially turn off the automatic feature. But
yeah, so I think my main point, so I'm in a quieter area now. Yeah, so basically my point was ultimately that like all of this stuff is hugely beneficial for not just sites that want automatic updates, but sites that want just the regular updates. They want full control over updates, so they're just doing it with Composer. But this UI, this interface is really useful in any case. So I think we should be careful not to just bundle this UI as an automatic updates UI, and this is actually the new updates UI with, you know, a feature that does automatic updates, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Aaron. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that, yeah, it is more just kind of redoing like updates in general and surfacing them, making them more discoverable to people. I just spent some time looking through my current Drupal test site and looking at all the different pathways to get to update. And I think one of the biggest problems that we discovered is that when you are logging into Drupal, even for the first time, there is no word update to follow. You do have to go either to the extend tab or under that reporting tab, where you do see that, I think like Benji was saying, the available updates, which leads you into the update tab and shows you more information. I think it just would be really great for users, especially those who quite aren't familiar with Drupal and are learning it, to be able to know where their updates are right when they log in, so that they're not confused about it or even forgetting them or ignoring them.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly one of the benefits of that we sort of highlighted of pulling out the update notifications into their own very visually distinctive area. You know, the banner or the update button in the toolbar with the little bubble. I think that really is a huge improvement over what we've got right now from a getting people to take actions. Otherwise, they just right now it's really easy to ignore, as I sort of said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am keeping an eye on the clock, and we're just about at the end of the hour. Let me give a little plug that Ted is going to be giving a presentation at the Boston Drupal meetup next Tuesday.
And the Manchester, I think also the same day, the Manchester, England one. So if one time is better than the other for people, other time zone.
Awesome. So that will be a demo of the current version of the contrib module, right?
Yes.
And I'll get the recording up as soon as I can. Thank you all for attending, and we'll have a meeting again next week. Any last parting shots?
Thank you guys so much for all this feedback. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And we have the tickets still open for feedback as well. If there's anything else.
Antonia says in the chat that the layouts look great.
Well, thanks for running this, Benji.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks for
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.